Today I'll be one of several presenters who are graduate students at UBC and leadership members from the HIBAR Research Buddies team community project.
We launched HIBAR Research Buddies, which is a pilot project. And in my cohort, it was a pilot project, but we're hoping to expand it, which our students are eager to make these societal impact in their research, but establishing those relationships with external to academia sometimes is it's a big task, and it's hard to find opportunities to do so. So we with HIBAR Research Buddies, we wanted to provide a supportive community to create more opportunities for people to engage in HIBAR type research. We were student led, so there were 9 of us. We're from all over UBC, different disciplines. You get a chance to meet some of us today. And the central focus was this co-leadership aspect of by graduate students and their faculty, of course, and collaborating with external experts.
So we had these student leaders, and we had to figure out what we wanted to do um, and how we wanted to do it. So upon initiating the project, we kind of came up with a vision, mission, and goals for our team to work towards. And we established some structure to our team. So with 9 students, there's quite a few people. We need to figure out how to best kind of accomplish our goals. So we established 4 different teams: an events team, and a communications team, a funding team, and an operations team. And we all kind of split up into 1 or more different teams, and we decided what each of these teams wanted to accomplish and how we wanted to do that. And one of our main goals was to kind of create a community. And to do so, we needed to advertise and create awareness about ourselves. And so one way we did this is we made the most out of existing UBC communication channels and our personal networks. So we asked these different people to share our message, and we asked people that we knew to kind of join us. And in addition to that, we didn't want to rely kind of on others to share our messages, so we created our own email directories. And one way to quantify this, looking at the figure on the left, is the number of subscribers we had to our mailing list over each month. And so you can see there's a progressive increase. There's kind of 2 steep jumps. So you can see that it's pretty well spread across a number of faculties, from science, arts, applied science, all the way to education and forestry, with a total of about 450 members. So pretty good. And in addition to that, once we had people in our community, we wanted to keep them engaged and provide some value to them. So we had a monthly newsletter, which shared various things, but kind of gave more information about who we are and what we were working on and things we thought were interesting. We created a website, and it has a bunch of our kind of work that we've done. And we also had social media accounts to share some of these things.
Today, I'd like to talk to you about the survey and the interviews that our team conducted during the first stages of the HIBAR Bodies project. Our team conducted an online survey because we were looking to better understand what were the research interests of UBC grad students, and more particularly, their interest in HIBAR projects. We received more than 200 responses, which helped us with valuable insights to understand how to tailor our outreach efforts. And the survey also allowed us to build a strong distribution list and establish communication channels with more than 200 students. After the surveys, we complemented this information by conducting 17 individual interviews with grad students who were experienced in HIBAR research. These more in-depth conversations allowed us to gain more insights about their experiences with HIBAR, to understand the challenges, the strengths, and ultimately, we wanted to better understand how we could support our community.
As she mentioned, we were starting from scratch and creating this community and like just trying to understand what are the different interests that we needed to tackle. So in interest of like trying to gather people from more diverse backgrounds and promoting a more informal setting where people could just come and talk to us so we could understand the demands for what people needed, graduate students necessarily needed. Um, for creating HIBAR projects, we launched the Buddy Coffees program. We had 14 sessions in total, from both UBCO and UBCV, with participants from all over campus. These more informal chats were a great way to communicate what are the plans for our HIBAR Buddies project and understand those unique demands that arise from it.
But today I'm going to tell you about the events we hosted as HIBAR Research Buddies, HIBAR B. And there are two events we'd like to focus on. The first being our webinar, which we hosted in the November of 2023. Fernanda mentioned our interviews, our in-depth interviews with several graduate students who were engaged in HIBAR research projects. And this webinar featured 7 of them from various departments and faculties. And they were able to share their insights, some of the pros and cons of conducting HIBAR research as a graduate student at the university, and how they have faced that and dealt with it. We next had our major inaugural launch event, which was co-hosted at both UBCV and UBCO, 2 different campuses, but at the same time. So we shared one seminar by Dr. David Hart from the University of Maine about the importance of building trusted collaborative relationships to facilitate meaningful research in adequate speed. And then each campus had a series of engaging activities to raise both interest in HIBAR research and set a precedent of building community amongst graduate students who are either already conducting this work or hope to conduct this work or just have an interest in it.
By Fernanda, from the interviews, we started to collect the insights and the question suggestions from the community members. And throughout the following events, such as Body Coffee, we gradually form our framework. So from these valuable feedbacks, we develop a framework for community activity plan that is building awareness and support and connections and capacity. So in here, we will introduce 4 main pillars. So first one is building the awareness of the vital role that students can play as a part of the HIBAR project team, where we host events, we showcase the projects and share the stories. And the second one is the building support throughout the university for more students to participate in HIBAR projects by meeting the leaders and expanding the funding and advocating for changes. And the third one is the building connections to opportunities that enables more students to participate in HIBAR projects, where we build this peer support, we meet with the faculty, and we meet with the partners. And last one, but not least, building capacity by sharing opportunities to develop skills needed in HIBAR projects, where we identify key skills and we share the workshops and then we develop resources.
Many graduate students have a desire to influence the world through their research, and they're interested in joining a community like HIBAR B to learn how to most effectively do this. But to build this community, it's going to take effort, and it's going to require careful planning and teamwork, because grad students are busy, and they have a lot of different competing interests. But if you put in the time to create this community, I think it will grow.
And then it's just advertising on faculty pages that's the kind of research you do, because a lot of people, before they consider applying, are often looking at people they'd be interested in working with. And if you don't see anyone you're interested in working with, you may not apply. So for faculty to stress that that's the kind of work they do and the nature of that and being very transparent about it is always helpful.
Kind of advertising what these projects are and what they might lead to for students. If there was kind of this greater awareness that maybe you can work on this thing that's a little bit more closely tied to an industry or something, that would kind of give you more experience, but also lead to a job. Just having that awareness helps.
I'm currently working with an industry partner who is involved in my research at like more of a basic capacity. So they're involved into like crafting research questions and like helping me with the process, almost like a co-supervisor. And they're funding my research as well. But I get to work with them in this more like of a HIBAR project style type of project. But it came a lot from my supervisor being like, oh, we have this opportunity of applying to this particular opportunity. Let's try and do this together. Not that you have to do everything together with the grad student, but like just being aware that these things exist and like letting them know. I think it's very helpful.
Yeah, I share like what I learned a lot from this project is that I feel yeah, always take action and reach out, because for like how we build our like a community activity, or like for example for students who want to reach out for the partners, or even reach out for the people who have similar experience for sharing and getting the feedback. I think yeah, overall like always take action and reach out. I think that's essential part in doing this kind of research. And yes, I believe this is some key thing that we have to learn during our graduate studies. Yeah.
Being able to speak and communicate your research to a non-expert and bring in what a non-expert is trying to tell you and take their feedback is key in driving more meaningful research.
If you're forging relationships, especially with industry partners or like maybe with government agencies, you open up space for like more funding venue. So it could be another possibility for folks to find more resources and be able to kind of diversify that portfolio of where money comes from.
So one thing is when you're partnering with different people from outside of academia, sometimes these projects aren't as large. So you might be, say, the only graduate student. And this element can be challenging because you're kind of sent off on your own. You don't necessarily have these students around you to rely on. And I think that's another strength of this community is that you can kind of talk to and learn from other students who are in similar situations, just to understand kind of some of those day-to-day kind of small things. But as a student, you might think about it a lot, how you're supposed to interact with different coworkers, how often should you follow up with people on emails, kind of all those small things that as a student, they're kind of new to you. And it's good to have kind of other students to ask about that.
So I feel like a lot of people, at least in the circles that we have entered as HIBAR research buddies, they still have that like little spark that like I want to do something different. I want to be part of something that kind of like transforms the way research is perceived and viewed outside of academia. I want to collaborate, I want to solve problems, but at the same time, I have all of these barriers. Even just having the space to talk about those things, in like a high bar research buddies, like being this like safe environment where you can discuss these problems, is beneficial to kind of like helping with that issue and motivating people.
Being a TA and all of that takes up a lot of time. So when you're TAing 12 hours a week and you're commuting back and forth, when you're working in these places that might not be on campus, it's really challenging because you might have, 2 labs you have to go to, let's call it Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, you have a meeting. So, that's 6 hours on the bus, that's 12 hours doing this TAing. So it kind of doesn't really become worth it to even TA at that point because you're just so spread thin between these two locations. And the partners that you're working with might not think you're working as hard as you are on these different things because maybe they don't see you as often because you have to be at these different places. So I think that the funding's huge because really graduate students are deeply immersed in these different problems. And when they have to spread themselves between different geographic locations, especially, it just makes it hard to kind of fully be there and to create those relationships when you're only seeing the people a certain percentage of the time.
But certainly any student who was already conducting HIBAR research certainly felt that their work had academic meaning, more so than the average student engaged in purely academic, non-HIBAR research, where the meaning isn't necessarily absent entirely, but might just be so far down the road.
I don't know, at the end of the day, when you're doing your research and you're working on these things, when 3 or 4 o'clock hits, it's nice to know that what you're working on might help somebody, even if, you know, your research project isn't going to work out. It kind of makes you work that little bit harder just to know that what you do for 3, 4, 5, hopefully not 6 years, might actually help somebody at the end of the day.